Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a hypnosis session that was created for a client that, although was doing quite well financially, had financial anxiety at either the idea of losing what he had already gained or that other people around him were going to leave him behind. And that's not unusual. Some people have this interesting dynamic where when they don't have money, they have anxiety about paying bills and losing, the ability to pay their rent and getting evicted and things like that. And then when people have money, because there's a feeling of comfort and security around having the money, then the other side of that coin is the fear of losing that security, that freedom, or that choice. So what you're going to hear in this short hypnosis session is a metaphor that represents money. And the reason for using a metaphor is that money isn't the only resource. Money can be substituted for time. So you can hire other people to do things so you don't have to do them. And resources could be ideas, or it could be emotional states like determination and focus and concentration and resilience. So that's why in this particular case, you're going to hear a metaphor that represents money, but it also represents any resource. And it's designed to create the idea of how you act differently when the resource is scarce to how you act when the resource is abundant or infinite. So you'll listen to this session as it kind of goes through, because I think in any case, and we've seen this, if you think back to the beginning of COVID, people were fighting, with each other in supermarkets to get toilet paper and kind of food. And then here in the UK, there were, kind of lots of scarcity around not being able to get fuel for a couple of weeks. When scarcity or the belief in scarcity is high, then people are at their least resourceful and at their most anxious. When there is a perception of abundance, then anxiety goes down and those other resources tend to increase. So I think this hypnosis session is going to be useful for anyone that wants to reduce their stress, because we are going into a period globally where there's going to be numerous recessions. The cost of living crisis means that there's less income available, and that feeling of scarcity can create a lot of anxiety with good reason. Now, if that anxiety helps you to avoid undesirable outcomes, then it's useful. But if the anxiety shuts you down and then people turn to, drink, drugs, food, or distraction or deflection as a coping mechanism, then it's really not useful. And this is how people end up losing businesses and homes, because they dig their head in the sand and just kind of hope these problems go away, rather than being resourceful enough to solve the problem. If you think about, everything that exists in the world, go back a few hundred years, and virtually nothing that exists now existed then. Therefore, it's all been created. So we are in an environment where abundance really is infinite. Now, I'm not talking about scarce resources, but money and ideas and creativity and businesses and incomes, they are certainly not scarce. There are people making money on things like YouTube and TikTok and even podcasts that simply didn't exist 20 years ago. So therefore, this spirit of abundance creates new opportunities and new creative ways of thinking of how to make money. This was obviously created for someone else, so not all of the suggestions are going to be directly relevant for you, because if you're listening to this, I don't know who you are specifically. So therefore, if you feel that you are anxious around money, if you feel that you're worried, that you're too anxious and that's not helping you in your current situation, there will be a link nearby where you can either book sessions with me or indeed book a free 30-minute consultation call to explore working with me, just to see if that might help in some way. But for now, find a quiet place that you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just get a sense that any tension, stress, or anxiety is leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, just allow yourself to relax and allow yourself to go to a place that we can call hypnosis, we can call focused attention, we can call your imagination being playful. As you breathe in and breathe out, just give permission to yourself to truly and deeply relax. Not because you need to, just because it's a nice feeling that enables your body to work in a more optimal way. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a desert. Maybe the Sahara. Maybe deep in middle Australia. Maybe in Nevada. A desert with bright sun, blue skies. And I want you to imagine you're in the middle of this desert, and wherever you look around, you can't see anyone. And I want you to imagine that you have a large bottle of water. And that bottle of water gives you a sense of security for now. But as you look around in this desert, I want you to get a sense that you don't know where more water could come from. So you would be very cautious with drinking this water, because if you drink it too fast, maybe you run out before you can find some more water. At some level, you're nervous, because if you're in this desert and you've got this large bottle of water, what if you were to run into someone that was also thirsty in the desert? Maybe they would want to take that water from you, leaving you with less or even nothing. I want you to get a sense that fear of loss is proportionate to scarcity. That if you have something of value, of course you don't want to lose it, but only if that thing can't be replenished. I want you to imagine you're walking through the desert. And I want you to imagine that you see a spring. A spring that comes up and turns into a pool of water. The pool of water turns into a stream. And then suddenly, you're completely transformed. You're no longer in a desert, you're in a lush meadow. There's a stream. There's a waterfall. I want you to imagine, bizarrely, there is a water cooler with a big container. There are taps. You're surrounded by more water than you could ever drink. And yet you're still carrying this big bottle of water. And maybe you're there for a few days. And it dawns on you that when you were in the desert, holding on to this big bottle of water was useful because you didn't know where water was coming from. But now that you're surrounded by all this water, holding on to the water isn't an advantage, it's a disadvantage, it's just weighing you down. When you can have water whenever you want, why would you go to the trouble of carrying around such a heavy bottle of water? So I want you to let go of that water, place it down, and you feel lighter, feeling more resourceful. I also want you to imagine that here in this lush meadow surrounded by streams and pools and waterfalls and taps and water coolers, imagine there's people around you that you know, some you like and some you don't like. And notice that it doesn't bother you at all as to whoever is drinking the water. Your worst enemy, an old relationship, you don't mind if they drink the water because there's more than enough water for everyone. Any anxiety about there not being enough water completely disappears. And there are some people that will just drink what they need. And for other people, they will put that water to use. Some people can take water and irrigate a field, taking the resource of water and enabling it to create crops, orchards, to take something of small value like a seed, and when you add the water and the sunshine, that can make it become more valuable. There are people that exist in the world that just want to drink the water. And there are other people in the world that want to put that water to use, knowing that the more that they put that water to use, the more value they create for other people. And the more value you create for other people, the more value comes back to you as an individual. I want you to imagine that you're surrounded by fresh, clean drinking water, and there is no anxiety as to what other people are doing. In fact, your mind starts drifting to how you can harness the value of this water to put it to use. Somewhere in this meadow, I want you to imagine there is a large cinema screen that just appears in front of you. And I want you to imagine a future version of you, perhaps 10 years from now. 10 years from now, that if things didn't go to plan, if you made bad choices, if you didn't learn from your mistakes, if you didn't learn from your past, or perhaps if you were one of those people that were just drinking the water rather than putting it to use, I want you to see an undesirable future, 10 years in the future. What are you doing? And more importantly, what had to happen in order for you to get there? Allowing your subconscious mind, your powerful unconscious mind to think that this is avoidable. This is an avoidable future by the choices and decisions that you make. Allow that screen to disappear, and then a new screen appears of you 10 years from now going on your current trajectory. If you continue to make the kind of choices that you're making, the decisions that you're making, the improvements that you're making, see yourself 10 years from now and have an idea of what kind of person you're going to be. And I want you to decide from this point onwards that this is the person that you're competing with, no one else. You're competing with who you're likely to be, to figure out ways how you can improve on that version of you. What can you do to be healthier, happier, more successful. Health can be defined in physical health, but also mental health. And then imagine the final screen shows the person that you're capable of becoming 10 years from now. I want you to see you at your very best. The goal is not to become this person, but it's to become as close to this person as you can get. Anything between what you're currently on target to become and what, in a best case scenario, is possible for you to become, that's your competition. You're competing with yourself. And I want you to realize just how much resources you have to make progress towards that ideal, desirable version of you. You're wiser now than you've ever been. You have more experience now than you've ever been. You have resources that you can put to use. Knowledge, understanding, skills, financial capital, networks, but also past mistakes. Past mistakes are one of your biggest resources, because by learning from setbacks, mistakes, things with the benefit of hindsight that you would have done differently, gives you an edge now going forward. The more resourceful you are, the better choices you can make. The better choices you make, the more that you can move your life in the direction where you become more of the person you want to be and less of the person you'd rather not be, enabling you to get a sense that all resources, including water, including money, including ideas, including determination, can be harnessed and put to work to enable you to move in a positive, powerful, empowering direction to take your life in the direction that you want to take it. And while you're focused on becoming the best version of you, notice that you really don't care what other people are doing. You can celebrate their wins. You can seek inspiration from other people doing good things, but you're no longer racing against them. You're racing against 3 different versions of yourself. The person you want to avoid, the pacemaker, the person you're on course to be anyway, and the version of you that you have the capability of becoming. And who knows, you may even exceed the current perception of what you at your best could be. Because when people make progress, they make even more progress. When people become successful, they can become even more successful. I want you to get a sense that there is no limitation on who you could be, but only if that's the person you aspire to be. Allow the screens to disappear. See yourself surrounded by all this water and get a sense of the incredible abundance around you. That even if you spill some water of your own, you don't mind, because there's so much water around anyway. Even if you see someone with more water than you, it doesn't matter, because there's all this water that could be utilized by you anyway. I want you to imagine that you drink a glass of the most delicious water, and this is healing water. This water will make you feel better inside, emotionally, physically, and mentally. And allow that water to do its work as you return to the present, listening to my voice in the present, in your own body, no longer in the meadow, no longer surrounded by the water, but taking that feeling of abundance with you. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes as I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.